Let's welcome Misty Eyez. She's the Director of Transgender Services, Women's Services, and Training Education for SunServe, a model social service agency serving the LGBTQ+ community. She's a highly, highly celebrated and award-winning entertainer. You know, I'm souping you up, but all this stuff is true.
She's so drama.
MC, journalist, drag queen, and incredible makeup artist. And may I add, my friend.
And my friend. And I'm not a makeup artist at this hour of the morning.
No.
Girl, you know how to practically sleep in this face and just glue on eyelashes when you wake up.
But you look beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
That's why I asked her, I'm like, hey, so is there any way you could do my makeup before we start filming? She's like, bitch, what time is it? No, I can't.
I already did your makeup before.
I know, you have.
Not today.
You have. And can I say thank you for that?
Speaking of makeup, he wants to, she, pronouns are important.
Pronouns are important.
But you know how you grow up, dogs are boys and cats are girls.
I do that too.
Yeah.
I do that all the time because, you know, I always have dogs and cats around me and you're always like, oh, it's a boy. But, you know, right, but honestly, dogs should be gender neutral because they're just...
Animals?
They're just, you know, they're loving to whoever. They don't care. They're not gay. They're not straight. They love everything. They're pansexual.
They're pan, yes. They
That's
are.
totally
Gender
fine.
neutral. But yeah, no, I did your makeup.
Yes, listen, I was so afraid. Okay, so I did a lip sync, right? It was a lip sync competition, a lip sync battle that has been going on for years and years and years. And it was at Hunter's in Wilton Manors, and it
was a fundraiser for our gala, our 20th anniversary gala,
for the SunServe gala. Yep. And SunServe, the director over at SunServe, is my really good friend Tony Lima, who's also your very good friend, and he got me into this damn lip sync battle
because he didn't want to do it by himself. He was also nervous.
Listen, I know he asked you first. I'm not stupid.
I'm not gonna do it. See,
and that is why Tony went and said, I know Faye will.
I am a professional drag queen. That means I get paid to do drag. No, it's just my schedule was insane. There was no.
Honey, because you're everywhere. You're like saving the world. You're getting degrees. You're teaching cop stuff. I have so much to talk to you about.
Yeah,
so
let's start.
Let's talk about that.
So first of all, about the makeup though, I don't even know where to look.
Look wherever. Okay. Look there.
So for the makeup, when Tony asked me to do your makeup, because she was too afraid to ask me directly.
I was afraid.
I said, listen, I will absolutely do face makeup. However, she needs to understand, I have no problem with cis women doing drag, but she's gonna look like a drag queen. She's not gonna look like a cis woman with glitter, because some girls are like, oh, I'm in drag, and I'm like, really, bitch? You just added eyelashes.
Okay, so let's understand this. I am afraid of very few people on this earth, and I'm afraid of this bitch.
No, you were
whatever
not.
You would have said, I would have done, and I was good. Okay, I'm gonna show you viewers a picture of me in case you didn't see it for the lip sync battle. You did an incredible job, and I was not even worried about how I was gonna look because it was you doing it. You know what I mean? Like,
so you impressed me during makeup. You impressed me because you wanted to do a run through of your words. Mama, she came for the audience. And I also heard that I gave you some pointers on how to perform and what to do. Because Tony, for example, who was super anxious, was like, and I'm like, sweetheart, you could be sultry and you could be like, it was a fast song, but you don't have to be fast. You can relax and you can go slow. It's about your decision. And so I was giving them some dance moves, and I heard that you got on the floor and did the dance moves.
I did. So that's the funny thing that, Misty was like, okay, just start feeling yourself. Because I was like, girl, I'm the only Latina with no rhythm. She goes, it's not all a dance routine. It could just be a sensual movement, blah, blah, blah. And it gave me like a confidence. So the first song we did was a tie, which was bullshit. It was not a tie, but whatever. So we had to...
political tie.
Political tie, whatever. So we had to go back and do a second song. And for the second song, we had to choose between me or Tony to do the second song. I did it. And I just had you there with me. I had your energy. So this bitch threw herself on the floor, started feeling herself, like other things. I was like, if I were Misty, how would I do this, And did it and won it, and that's how we roll, mother effers.
Well, the number one mistake I didn't want you to do, and I'm not calling you an amateur drag queen. You were doing a charity event.
Yes,
but a lot of the amateur girls, the brand new girls, let's use brand new, or novice artists, they get out there and they run full speed ahead. And then halfway through the song, they're exhausted and they tuck her out. So you can't start 100 miles an hour because then you have nowhere to go.
Well, because it's, 4 minutes doesn't seem like a long time.
Unless you're in spotlights on stage.
Holy crap, it's a long time. And at the end, I was like, how do these girls do this? I'm like, oh my God. And those tights, like, how did you wear those?
Well, can you imagine tucking and wearing those?
Oh, I can't.
That's even
I can't,
funner.
girl. I can't. so much we got to talk about.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so let's talk about SunServe. How long have you been over at SunServe?
So I joined SunServe in the year 2015. I was assigned male at birth, and I have had a legal name that is not Misty. And my legal name at the time was androgynous.
Okay.
There are women with this name and there are men with this name. And I never really cared about changing my name. But in 2015, there was a man announced that he was running for president. And this is the time in my life when I was like, you know what? I better change my name before I'm not allowed to change my name.
Wow, you had that premonition already.
Yeah, because people were just talking, like, conspiracy theorists, and people are like, I listen to everything people tell me with a grain of salt. I appreciate the knowledge and the foresight. Is it true? And then I started to hear more and more stuff. I'm like, you know what? Let me go change my name before it's not able to be done. So I went to change my name, and the only people that told me they could help me was SunServe. So I walked into SunServe in 2015, and the executive director at the time was Mark Ketchum, and he was in the lobby, and he saw me walk in, and he goes, who are you? Wait a minute, what's going on? What's all this? What's happening? And I was very shy, and it was daytime. You know how trans people don't feel great in the daytime, and I was really nervous, and I'm like, I'm here to see someone who's to help me with my name change. And he goes, can I talk to you? No, I kid you not, this really happened.
And he was drawn to you in such a way that he needed to talk to you. Okay?
So he pulled me into the boardroom, and he's like, tell me your whole story. I'm like, what do you mean, my whole story? He's like, where were you born? Where'd you go to school? Like, what's your life? Tell me what happened in your life. And I told him my life. It was maybe an hour, just me talking. We were just getting to know each other. He goes, Misty, you have the X factor. And I go, what is that? He goes, it's the it factor. When you walk into the room, you demand attention.
You do.
You demand respect, and you're captivating, you're well-spoken, and your story is compelling. And I said, okay, thanks. Like, I didn't know what to say. Like, okay, is this guy trying to hit on me? I didn't know what was happening. And then he goes, can I harness your powers for good? And I'm like, what does that mean? So at that moment in 2015, he launched the education and training program for SunServe. And so he wanted me to come up with a PowerPoint and an education session. He's like, full green light, do whatever you want, say whatever you want, make sure it's factual. It could be 10 hours, it could be 5 hours, it could be 2 hours. You come up with a program that you will go into audiences and teach. Keynote speaker, hospitals, nurses, mental health clinics, police stations.
Incredible.
And I'm like, okay. And so
you weren't shy at that moment?
I was extremely
holy
shy.
Crap, how am I going to do this? Like, this is important.
No, I thought he was kidding. Like, I'm like, yeah, okay.
Well, and in LGBT, we meet people out and they say things and then it never happens,
Yeah.
So that's very common in our community. So I see that.
So then he's like, look, I'm going to pay you. And at the time, it was per diem. It was hourly. He's like, tell me how many hours you spent working. Tell me how many hours you spent doing this. Is it once a week? Did you do 3 nights a week? Whatever. So he just trusted me. And I'm like, well, I spent a couple hours doing this, whatever. And I kind of came up with my PowerPoint and my training as if I was talking to my father. A very bullheaded, charismatic, evangelical Pentecostal minister.
Holy crap.
So I did the who, the where, the when, the why, the science, the history. Is it a choice? Is it DNA? What makes LGBTQ people them? And I start in a basic way that we as human beings can understand. So I start with the diversity, equity, inclusion element, saying, what is bias? Who has bias? What does that mean? Is it a prejudice? Is it a preconceived notion? Is it based on experiences? Are you taught this by
your parents?
Yes.
Where does it come from?
Why do we have this? And why is it when somebody walks in a room that I have no idea who they are, I get uncomfortable? Is it conscious? Is it unconscious? So we start there as how we are human beings. And then I compare, and then I talk about the L, the G, the B, the T, the Q, the A, the I, the P, the 2S. And we talk about all the letters. And then I'm like, okay, do you have any questions before I go into transgender? Because I spend a full hour and a half on just transgender.
What?
And the science, the when, the where, the why. Who was the first doctor to do anything about trans? Who named the word transgender? Who named the word transvestite? Who named the word transsexual? Why don't we use the word transsexual anymore? What does that mean? And I go through the whole thing. And then I even go into the chromosomes and I talk about science and how there's 3 trimesters when somebody is pregnant. And the first trimester, all humans are XX, which means female. And the super testosterone is injected into the womb in the second trimester, and that tubular turns to a clitoris or a penis. but your gender is developed in your third trimester. And sometimes the brain gets a certain amount of testosterone that the tubular didn't get. And that's why 1 in 330 humans are born on the transgender spectrum. And it's science, it's not a choice. And you are literally born with a male brain or a female brain. And your male brain is developed by 5 years old, and your female brain is developed by 5 years old. And you can actually see this in children. It is not, oh, I chose to be the most hated population in the world. It's something that you struggle with.
Why would anybody choose this? Nobody would choose this. This is you trying to be your true authentic self because your brain is not matching what you see in the mirror, and it should.
And I talk about the suicidal ideation of trans people and LGBTQ people.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah, of course.
So I know enough not to use the word transsexual, okay?
Right.
Because in my time, in my community, I've been taught correctly, okay?
Sure.
Why do some women living the trans experience are still okay with using that word?
Dating profiles.
Explain.
Okay, so the word transsexual was created by Dr. Magnus Hirschfeld in the year 1921. It had gender confirmation surgery. That's all it means. So when Dr. Magnus Hirschfeld met the Danish girl, Lily Alb, he performed a surgery, and he took a cadaver and he took the entire womb out of the cadaver and transplanted it into Lily. And the medical journals are like, wait, what do you call her now? What is this? She's no longer transvestite. That was the first word for us. Trans or crossover from on the other side dressing the opposite, transvestite. And so now she's a transsexual. That's what his 1921 word. So that meant she's had surgery.
Got it.
Now, a lot of us stopped using that word. Most importantly and most obvious is transsexual is not asexual. Asexual means I don't want sex. Homosexual means I do want sex with the same sex. Transsexual is not about having sex. It's not a sexual orientation. It's a gender identity. So it's not asexual, first of all. But it just means my body's modified. So when I was single, I was on Plenty of Fish, and I put I'm a BBW/TS because I wanted men to know that I was not just dressing as a female. I am a female, and I have physically altered my body surgically, permanently, as a woman. So there are definite trans people that are like, oh yeah, I'm transsexual. Plus, there's a divide in our community because it's classist. You can only become transsexual when you have surgery. Surgery is very expensive.
Very expensive.
I still want facial feminization. I had my consultation at $65,000 to get my face done.
Holy shit, but your face is very feminine.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I'm blessed, but I want things fixed. I want buccal fat removal here. I want my hairline lowered.
65 grand?
65. My vocal cord surgery, I looked into that. That's $11,000. And that would raise my voice an entire octave. So I would speak more like, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. This would be my voice.
Oh, I love it.
But
you also sing too.
I do sing, yeah.
And so if you did that, that would affect your singing as well.
So I looked into Eyez.
I think it was even opera you did. Don't you do opera? See, I remember my stuff.
I have been an opera singer, yes. So I looked into Eyez in Seoul, Korea. They do vocal feminization surgery, and opera singers can still sing. It's just their voices are now higher.
Well, so I've met your husband.
You have.
I love Mr. Alicia. He's awesome. Hi. How was it dating before him? You said you were on
Plenty
POF.
of Fish, yeah. How was it dating before him, or how was it dating him?
No, before him. Before him. How was it dating?
So I'm a Capricorn, and I have come to so if you don't know Capricorns, I don't know if you're like astrology or not. So a Capricorn started off as a fish in the sea, ironically, and climbed the highest mountain and became a goat. So it's a goat with a fishtail. And I'm very much a Capricorn. I'm an overachiever. I'm, education, power, whatever. I'm always trying to better myself, like a Capricorn. And I've always been told life is lonely at the top. And fighting for that success and fighting for that drive and fighting to be the best, you will always be lonely. So part of me in the back of my mind always felt I would be lonely just because I was a Capricorn and I was an overachiever or whatever.
So that you were just going to date and whatever, but you weren't going to end up with someone married or whatever like that.
But since the year 2005, when I started to alter my body, straight men were drawn to me. Gay men were repelled by me.
What?
As much as I've been attracted to some of those gay boys, I have wanted some gay boys, girl.
Oh.
And they're like, girl, if I wanted a woman, I'd be straight. And they're like, yes, queen, no queen, bye, queen. So I became very comfortable before my husband hooking up in the dark, hooking up in the shadows. Men would come to my house in the cover of darkness.
Straight men.
Straight men. And I was a very popular girl.
I bet you were.
But it was also very lonely because none of them wanted to go to the movies. None of them wanted to go to dinner because they were so afraid society would see them on a date with me.
Yeah.
And my husband was completely different. I met my husband. He did not read my profile. Let's start with that.
He just went with the picture.
He went with the pictures. And to be honest with you, Plenty of Fish, I don't know how it's now, if it's the same, but we had private pictures. And I wasn't naked, but I had bra and panty pictures and, like a little
sexy
you get him
thing.
something.
Yeah,
so I unlocked my private pictures for him, and I was in full drag. Like I don't know if you showed this picture, but there's I have a picture that I use a lot. I'm in a purple dress with big 6 wigs on my head.
Yeah. We're gonna show it now. Uh-huh.
And that picture was on there. I'm in drag, girl. Eyelashes, wigs, whatever. And he thought I was a stripper, or he thought I was a ballerina or a performer. He didn't realize it was
you.
Yeah. Well, he didn't know. He didn't realize it was drag. He never assumed anything. He didn't
never
know.
Put those two together.
And mind you, meanwhile, one of those, Caitlyn Jenner had not come out of the closet yet. So the world did not hear the word transgender, transsexual. It was not a thing. So when we met, he's like, we talked for 6 months. We FaceTimed. I worked nights, he worked days at the time. And I'm like, baby, the day before we met, we were supposed to meet on his birthday, June 30th. And that's my husband's birthday, June 30th. And we were supposed to meet on his birthday. He's like, hey, we're still meeting for my birthday. I said, did you read my profile? And he's like, what do you mean, did I read your profile? I'm like, did you read it? And he goes,
you wanted to be transparent with him.
I didn't want to die.
Well, that's also it. You also don't want to die.
I don't want to be killed.
That.
I'm not trying to be a hate crime. Because I have had men who didn't read my profile. And one guy, we were about to be intimate. He removed my panties and jumped through my wall. We're talking a body-sized drywall hole. We still had sex after
Of course, after he calmed down and
yeah,
the swelling went away. Then
because I thought people just knew. I did not feel pretty. Does that make sense?
But you did.
I'm 6'1", and I felt like I was obvious. I'll never be a beautiful girl. So I didn't think I had to tell people initially. So now I'm like, you need to read my profile. So he's like, what's BBW? I'm like, a big, beautiful woman. He goes, well, no, that's what I like. I love that. I like big boobs. I like big butt. I like that. And then he goes, what's TS? And I'm like, well, and he stopped talking to me for 6 hours. And then finally I deleted his number, goodbye.
You figured, okay, he's one of those, it's over, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever. To me, honestly, he was just a hookup. A hookup, I was talking to for 6 months, but it wasn't no love lost. It was next, Ariana Grande style, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, goodbye. And he called me 6 hours later and was like, look, I'm not like that. And I can't go there, but you're mad cool, and you're my only plans for my birthday, and we're now married.
You put those two together? What a crazy story.
Right. So we've been together literally almost every day since.
And how long has that been?
We met
4
in
years,
2000.
5 years?
No, almost 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah. We got married in 2018 in this room. Well, no, we got married in the other room, but our reception was in this room.
Oh my God, that's so cool. Yeah. And so you brought him into our community, basically.
Yes.
Because he went from, understand that Misty Eyez is a persona. Everybody knows Misty. Everybody wants Misty. Everybody wants a piece of Misty.
It was challenging.
So how did he deal with that? And with the trans community, was he able to understand how marginalized and how beat up the community was being?
He's very, very, very much an ally to our community now. At the time, well, first of all, girl, I've been in the nightclub industry since I was 18 years old. I know how people are. So I talked to him for 6 months before we met, and then I hid him for probably 6 months before I brought him to my job, because I know how the girls are. I know how the boys are. And realistically, I have overheard girls in my show, in my friendships, say, well, if he sleeps with Misty, he'll definitely sleep with me. I promise you. Wow, I'm not going to say any names, but I've heard it. I've heard it. Anyways, so I brought him to a couple of my shows, especially one where I had him do the spotlight.
Put him to work.
Yeah. Work the spotlight. And it was funny because you could see some of the girls fluttering around my man, trying to get his attention. One of my girlfriends, very good girlfriend, stunning, gorgeous trans woman, coming to me and goes, Misty, he really loves you. Aww. And I'm like, thank you. She's like, I've been naked in front of him so many times that he won't even look at me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're doing it up because we're backstage and you don't pay
course,
attention.
you're
But
changing real quick.
she was trying to show stuff on purpose,
And he was not having it.
He wasn't
all
having
about
it. He
you.
only saw me. But his problem in the beginning did not come from the girls. His problem in the beginning came from the men. We were in a gay bar and he went to the bathroom and his first day in the bar, he comes to the bathroom and he's like, Misty, he was so mad. And I'm like, what happened? He goes, somebody told me I have a nice ass in the bathroom. I'm like, okay, I'm going to punch him. I'm like, baby, calm down.
Toxic masculinity was real there.
Calm down. First of all, A, you're not getting arrested. B, I'm not getting fired. C, calm down. He gave you a compliment. But he's come so far. Like
he's come so far. Now he gets molested basically, and he's like, yeah, it is what it is.
If you molested him, he would allow that.
He'd be okay. All right.
If somebody else molested him, he probably. Al's hit on him before in front of me on a cruise, and he was like, "Wait a minute, your husband's straight?" And he's trying to treat my husband like a gay man. I'm like, Al, he does not want you.
You and Mr. Alicia are like the straightest couple, which is interesting because you're both LGBTQ no matter what, but
He's definitely the LGBTQIA.
As an ally, yeah. Of course. You guys are like the king and queen of everything when it comes to our community here in Wilton.
My baby.
Let's talk about shows. I was just talking with Damien about the stupid crap that they're trying to do about banning children from drag shows, and I was that's why I wanted you on the show today because. So one of the most beautiful things that I think I've ever been able to see in person, okay, because I saw your videos before, was at My Hollywood Pride watching you read stories to these children.
Yeah.
I get kind of choked up because the kids, there's no malice there. It's so beautiful. You're sitting there in a beautiful dress and these kids are all around you, just starry-eyed, so excited about when you turned the page and did a little commentary on everything.
I forgot you were there, yeah.
So beautiful. I'm getting chills. And I was like, my God, and I knew that you've done this plenty of times in other places. And I thought, wow, what a wonderful way to extend a hand and have these children see our community in a wonderful way. And now they're trying to do this bullshit. What do you think about that?
So quick plug.
Please.
I'm doing Drag Queen Storytime at the Museum of Discovery and Science downtown Fort Lauderdale on Saturday, June 25th. It's the Saturday after Pride Parade.
Yes, I think we're going to talk about it on the show next week.
It's the fourth year we've done this, and I've done Drag Queen Storytime for all 4 years.
Love it.
It's their 4th Pride Day. Now, let's going back to this Texas situation. I don't know how old you are, but I'm imagining we're the same age. Okay?
Yeah, a lot of Botox.
We're an older situation. So when I was young, I knew I was a girl at 4 years old. I didn't know there was another human being in this world that was struggling with what I was struggling with. Then I knew I was attracted to boys at 9 years old. I didn't know there was other people struggling with these thoughts or feelings either. So what are right-wing, Republican, conservative people, Christians,
mainly,
and I'm a good Christian woman, so it's hard for me to speak about this a little bit, but what these people are so fearful of is the fact that these kids are going to find something that they relate to. And they're going to find someone else in the world that is struggling with something that they've struggled with. And right now in Florida, we have this amazing governor who has decided that we are not allowed to be woke. It's illegal in Florida as an educator to speak about racism, to speak about discrimination, to speak about LGBTQ issues, transgender, homosexuality, etc., because they don't want to be uncomfortable. But I think what they're really, really afraid of is that these children are going to, for example, remember Karate Kid with Ralph Macchio?
Of course.
I was the Karate Kid for like 3 months. And then Mary Poppins come through. Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. I was Mary Poppins for 6 months. And then whatever, as a child, we go through these little phases where we become what we emulate on television.
We latch on to something that is even a little bit relatable. You feel that it's inside you in some way.
We live in a world that worships and idolizes masculinity so much that nobody cares if you were to wear a men's suit and tie right now. Nobody would care. You can go into any church, any business, any society, and like, oh, come on, girl, you're turning it out. But Tom, I don't know anybody named Tom. So Tom walks into that church or business with a blouse on, and people get very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Tom, what's going on, Tom?
Why are you wearing that blouse, Tom?
Put that all down. Boys, don't cry. Don't cry. So we are teaching our children it's not okay to be soft or feminine or emotional. And we're teaching our children it's not okay to say gay. You can't talk about it. And it reminds me of the Clinton era when it was don't ask, don't tell.
Don't ask, don't tell. Yeah.
And that is pushing fear and stigma on our children.
That is silencing them or
and,
trying
yes,
to.
and making them afraid and embarrassed. Very much like I was when I didn't understand what was going on in my life.
Well, and with a dad like yours. Now, you deal with a lot of youth at SunServe.
Yes.
Okay.
Not me specifically, but
well, I mean,
yeah.
the organization as
We
a
do.
whole.
Yeah.
And they are the most targeted and they're the most susceptible to all this garbage.
Yeah.
And you're going to stop them from going to a drag queen story hour.
Or providing an outlet where they can talk to other people that have struggled with their thoughts and feelings.
Has that happened to you at a reading? Has anybody come up to you and said something similar to that?
Up to me, no. However, with the Hollywood Pride, the one that you came to, the day before, we were invited to the city of Hollywood. I don't even know what it was called, but there was like a bunch of mayors and a bunch of Congress people, and it was like a very official city breakfast. And some of the parents and people were very, very, not militant, but aggressive. And they were like, I can't believe you're exposing children to LGBTQ things. And I said, listen, if I were to have a sign language presentation where I'm talking about American Sign Language and thank you and you're beautiful, and I'm showing them, it doesn't make the children deaf. And if I were to put up a sign right now that's a blue sign with a white wheelchair, and I let them know that it is important to be wheelchair accessible, and it's okay if people that are in a wheelchair or handicap accessible come to this meeting and they're safe here, it doesn't make kids
Handicapped. Yeah.
So educating people that other communities exist is just education.
Yeah.
Exposing children to other things at a young age is going to let them know, oh yeah, it's for me, it's not for me, it's cool, whatever. But me, I wasn't allowed to watch anything that wasn't G-rated. And worse than that, as a child, I wasn't allowed to watch any Disney thing with magic. Guess what I did when I went to college? This is really dating myself. I watched Aladdin. 22 times.
22 times.
In my dorm room.
Oh my God.
And I watched The Little Mermaid because there was a witch in A Little Mermaid. And I watched that 22 times. So as soon as you get out of that very structured and very rigid house, controlled
you're
environment,
gonna end up looking for that yourself.
you're going to not just look for it, you're going to be drawn to it and
Yes.
you're going to cling to it. And very much like the little girl that came out of her Christian bubble, I became a phone sex operator, I became a stripper, I became an escort, and all of those things because I was so preached about that it was such a taboo and terrible and wrong that of course I was like, well, why? Why is it taboo and wrong? And I essentially, quote unquote, rebelled.
You're so honest about your past, Misty. Like you're never, it's like you could totally, okay, Misty has a degree that she has worked so freaking hard for. She's, the director of women's services over at SunServe. She helps so many of our ladies out there. You're very humble. And yet you still say, I was a sex worker, I was a stripper, I did these things. There's no need for you to even mention that anymore, yet you still do.
I think that, like, for example, I was molested from 3 years old to 13. And that's something that was really, really, really hard for me to say out loud for years.
Because you didn't want to give it power, you didn't want to give it strength?
By not whispering it and not saying out loud is giving it power. It's giving power over your life. By refusing to acknowledge that something traumatic and terrible and horrible and disgusting happened to you, and living in that shame, every time you whisper that trauma or that fear, that whatever, it takes away the power, but also it empowers someone else. Because I would never just be like, hey everyone, just so you know, I was molested. That happened to me. When I've shared my testimony or those experiences, it's been in situations that other people may or may not be benefiting from it. And
most
many
of the time
people,
they are.
yes, and many people come to me like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. This is what happened to me.
Yeah.
And you take away that power by saying its name.
Yeah.
And you take it away.
And you give people the opportunity. You give them that space. You just open the door. Let me know
And
what
let
happened
them
to you.
know that if they need to talk to somebody, I might have been there and done that. And, you know,
3 times.
do you know Brene Brown?
Yes, of
I'm
course.
not- do you
Yes,
know
her
We're
books. The
friends.
book is. I don't know her personally. She's not like my friend on Facebook, but no, her books are incredible.
Oh my gosh.
Her books are incredible.
Daring Greatly and Braving the Wilderness are the
Braving
two
the
books.
Wilderness.
Oh my God.
Girl. Get it.
As
Get
an
the book.
LGBTQ person, Braving the Wilderness, mind blown.
Yeah.
But not in these two books. Literally, Braving the Wilderness, if you're going to read one and only one, that's the one to read. But I remember one of the books I was reading, or I don't know if it was one of the first things I was exposed, maybe it's a Power of Vulnerability or something. She said, as an empathic person, oh, by the way, it's now illegal in the school systems of Utah to say empathy because
What?
it's a racially
Why?
sensitive word. I'm not freaking kidding you, girl. Our government is going cuckoo bird crazy.
For Cocoa Puffs.
I just went to Congress and I spoke to a couple of our senators and their teams about living as an LGBTQ person in Florida. And I was listening to the city of Utah people talk. And it's illegal to say empath or empathy in Utah right now
Wow.
because it's a racially driven word.
Wow.
And they don't want our kids to be empathetic.
In Utah, isn't that like where all the Mormons are?
Anyways, okay, so
Wow,
one of
very
the things Dr. Brene Brown said was, as an empath, there's a big difference between empathy and sympathy. So
Do you consider yourself an empath?
I'm 100% an empath.
Okay.
And with my clients, for example, if my client comes to me and they're in a deep, dark hole, and they're deep, dark, terrible hole, a sympathetic person's gonna be like, oh, dude, that sucks. I'm so sorry you're in that hole. I'm really sorry. Damn, that sucks for you. But an empathic person is going to climb down into that hole and they're going to sit there with you in that darkness and they're going to feel your pain and they're going to talk about their pain and they're going to listen to you about your pain. But that empathic person is going to bring a ladder and we're going to sit in your darkness for a minute and I'm going to let you know that you are human and it's okay to feel that trauma. But I'm bringing a ladder, girl, and we're getting out.
We're getting the fuck out of here.
We're getting the fuck out and we're gonna climb and we're gonna sit in that sun for a minute and we're gonna breathe because we're allowed to sit in the sun and we're allowed to breathe.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something that Brene Brown said. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. That's what I do with my clients. So that's what really compelled me to listen to her.
So as an empath, by what I know, okay, you will be picking, you feel the energy, and I love what you said about going in there with
Yeah.
a ladder to get the fuck out. Is there something that you do to cleanse yourself so you don't walk around with everybody's energy? I'm just thinking of the people that you serve at SunServe.
Yeah.
I know plenty of Black and brown sisters that you've helped. I know plenty of youth that the organization has helped, and most of them have come there broken. So how do you not walk around with everybody's shit?
So that's something that they don't actually teach you. I mean, not SunServe, I mean social work in general. It's not like a cure-all, it's not a fix-all, it's not like a, hey, this is what really works for you. But one of the key things that I had to learn for myself was, I can't fix the world, I can't fix everything, and I can't take my clients home with me here.
Yeah.
You know, and that's easier said than done because I will tell you there's many nights that I can't go to sleep and my husband's like, baby, do you need a sleeping pill? Baby, do you need a Xanax? Like, what's going on? My mind won't shut off because so-and-so's homeless or so-and-so's whatever, so-and-so's this. And I'm trying, and I can't. Our system is broken. And unless you're HIV positive, I can't find you housing.
Yeah.
So unless you go to like somewhere like New York and like, oh, you get off a bus and suddenly there's housing for you.
Do you ever just say, this is like a non-winning? I'm never going to win this.
To. However, I refuse to accept that. I will find a way. It might not be the best way. And you know what? I've had to like take my clients to a park that I felt they would be safest and be like, I'm going to and I've also given them access to a room that in a public building that once I leave, you can't leave because you can't get back in. You don't have a key. But I have done that with clients before too. But for me, self-care, work, school, homework, husband. There's not a lot of time for self-care. But I try, and I say this loosely because I haven't had a massage in a year, but I used to try to get a massage at least once a month. I get my nails done
I love her
once
nails.
a month.
You see her nails? And look, and I guess they glow in the dark or some crap. What do they do? Like
They-
when it's hot, they turn pink?
Their temperature changing. So like
So if your hubby
it's
gets you turned
warm-
on, does it all turn pink? Like what happens?
So if it's warm, it's pink. If it's cold, it's purple.
I have to get to the police.
Let's talk
I
about
gotta
police.
talk about the police because I don't even know. I mean, I know that's going to be sorted. You know, a lot of pride events have decided to not have the police in the perimeters because many people in our communities have PTSD and don't want to see a uniform. I have to agree to some degree. I also know that I am passing, and unless you know me, I'm gay, you don't know. You know, so I don't deal with the same shit that many of our Black and brown brothers and sisters have to deal with when it comes to police. You know, police have wrapped up their cars in beautiful rainbow colors and have been part of our parades. And you see LGBTQ plus cops out there with their flags, and I believe that they have a right to also be a part of our pride. Where are we? Where are we with, I mean, you literally the other day, you were standing in front of a room full of cops and you were schooling them on some kind of sensitivity training or something. Tell me about that.
So I have a relationship with, it's called crisis intervention training. And I train once a month the police department. And it is all South Florida police. So it's not only BSO, it's not only Fort Lauderdale police, it's the Davie police. All kinds of different cops come. Some months we do 2 trainings a month, but every month we do a training. And they come and really do crisis intervention. So they talk about suicidal ideation, like somebody, not me, talks about suicidal ideation. And one person talks about Baker acting. And it's understanding your clients or your community when they're in situations of crisis.
Yeah.
And I do a 3-hour training on understanding the LGBTQ needs of our community. Now, I will say that we have an amazing police force in South Florida that has full of LGBTQ people.
Okay.
Is it perfect? No. Absolutely not. There are Black and brown people on our police force as well. Is it perfect? No. And I do understand the fear and the stigma that you have just mentioned when you said police and what happened with George Floyd and his neck, and a police officer did that. Mm-hmm. You can't erase those images. No. They are forever ingrained.
They're part of our history now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if it doesn't make you uncomfortable, we're allowed to talk about it.
It might be in your history books. It might not.
Because we like to whitewash our education. Literally. But anyways, the police are making an effort to understand. And my goal as an educator is not to make you become the best ally. It's not to make you the hugest advocate for our community. I want you to have, dare I say, I'm not in Utah, empathy. I want you to have empathy. I don't care if you agree with anything I say. But when you are arresting someone or pulling someone over or called to a domestic violence situation and somebody's having the worst day of their life and they're like, officer, I'm a biracial queer Latina and blah, blah, blah. What the hell did you just say to me?
Yeah.
I don't want you to trip and fall. I want you to be like, oh, that's not that scary. Mm-hmm. My teacher told me about it. So we do the whole training for the cops. It is voluntary.
That's what I was going to say. It's not a mandatory thing anywhere, right?
Well, once they sign up for it, it's mandatory. And it's funny because a lot of my police training specifically, they start my training like this. Okay. Yeah.
Let's see what she's got to say.
Yeah. So, but I kid you not, at the end of every training, cops come up to me and hug me. They talk to me. They're like, Misty, I learned so much. And I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes I cry.
Aww.
I have cried more times than not because some of these cops will ask such hard questions,
real questions, like things that they've thought about and
or experienced
or experienced.
Yeah, and I give them either my personal stories or stories from clients. Like, listen, okay, for example, one of my clients was working at a barbershop. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but she was working at a barbershop. She worked at the barbershop for 20 years as a he and is now working there as a she. And it was a gay barbershop. It was gay owned and operated. It was just outside of the city of Wilton Manors, in the city of Fort Lauderdale, but very close to Wilton Manors. And the owner and her got into an altercation and he snatched her wig and tried to rip it off. And it was glued to her head and she was bald underneath, so lots of glue. and he yanked her to the ground and started kicking her.
Oh my God.
All on camera. The police officers that showed up to do the crime took her ID, and it was still a legal name, male, and they called her sir, and he, him, his, and they called her legal name. And she kept repeating to herself, my name is this name. I'm not going to say her name. My name is not this, it's this. My name is not this, it's this. And he's like, yeah, okay. Can you take him over there in the corner because whatever. So she was impacted even more trauma by the police. Now, somehow between the Wilton Manors scene of the crime and getting back to the police station, like I can't imagine, I hope to God he didn't say this, but I kind of imagine he went to one of his fellow cops and was like, you'll never believe this. So I was at a barber shop and a man in a dress and a wig, I'm imagining that's what happened. And the other cop was like, dude, you can't say that in your report. So somehow, somewhere, even though he misgendered her 100 times to her face, he wrote the report with she, her, hers pronouns.
Wow.
He couldn't remember the name she preferred. He couldn't remember the name she preferred. So he put her legal name, but called her she in the entire document. Now, kid you not, girl, mama's connected. Okay. This went all the way to Tallahassee.
Wow.
And I got some very influential, but I didn't know that the report said she yet. So I have people in Tallahassee calling me like, well, Misty, I just got the report, it says she. Now I'm looking like a dumbass. Somebody got to the cop.
You were surprised though, right?
Yeah, I was very surprised. But he couldn't remember her chosen name and didn't put that. However, that's an example I use in my trainings. Like, he did not get suspended. He did not get fired. He did not get written up because he called her she in the report. Legally male, legally he name, but in the report he called her she the entire document. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to put stuff in your back pocket and be like, oh, in case I need it, bring it out.
Yeah, this is what I'm going to do if I'm in this situation.
Yeah.
But, wow, well, you're incredible, Misty.
I want to set you up for success.
But it's, how can, I mean, do you think that relationship between our community and the cops will ever be bridged?
I have to believe politically in this country, and I have to believe with the police in this country, that we are moving 3 steps forward and sometimes 2, but 1 step back. I have to believe that everything that we are doing is making a difference. And I have to believe that sometimes it feels like 5 steps backward, but we're still moving forward because the people that are fighting will never stop fighting.
Yeah.
We fight because we have to.
Yeah.
We educate because we have to. And I can't expect you to know what you don't know until you don't know that you don't know it. Like, and that's how I come to my trainings. I come from an empathetic place. I come from a place of understanding. And I know you don't understand. If I showed you 300 sharks on this wall and asked you to tell me which ones are male and which ones are female, how would you know?
I wouldn't.
Which one is the blue shark? Which one's, I don't know. Like, I know the hammerhead, that's it.
Yeah.
And I can't expect you to understand my community. And how do you know? Unless you know.
Unless you know. Unless you're in that situation.
That's my job, is to come to you and help you know what you don't know. And hopefully do it in an empathetic way that I'm not attacking them. I'm not making them feel threatened. I'm not yelling at them. I'm not making them feel like they're dumb or whatever. I'm just helping them understand something they don't know.
Got it. Just getting them to the next step.
Yeah.
Misty, where do you see yourself? I mean, God, like, you've been through so much. Like, you should freaking write a book or a memoir, or like Ronnie Larson should do like a play on you at the Foundry. I'm just saying.
If there's a ghostwriter, I'm all about the book.
Because you've got like such great stories.
I don't have time to actually do it.
You know, you were like, look, I'm going to go to school. I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to get that damn degree. Look, I'm going to do this. I'm going to, you know, I mean, SunServe hired you at the bottom, and then look at where you're at now. You know, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where is Misty going to be in 10 years? I mean, because this is tiring work, girl. Like, it's tiring work. What else do you want to hit?
I don't know. But you know, the reality is, if you've ever seen the movie Oklahoma, or the movie,
the play
Oklahoma, I'm just a girl who can't say no. That's like my life motto. I can't. I literally can't. Like, literally, I was doing 100 things, and then somebody said, hey, can you wake up at the butt crack of dawn and go do facial? And I'm like, what do I have to do tomorrow?
And here we are. And here we are.
Let's do it. I can't say no. But, okay, so the real reason why I went back to get my MBA, I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's a secret to anybody in South Florida. The executive director that hired me at SunServe retired. After 10 years, he left and moved to New York and retired. We had an executive team of people who I don't feel were moving in the right direction. Can I say that?
Of course you can. It was stagnant. It kind of was just...
There was definitely a stagnant.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say we went down. We didn't go up. It was literally became a swamp. Like there was no flowing water. There was no room for growth. It was just like a standstill. And so I'm like, I'm getting my MBA. I'm getting a 6-figure salary. I'm getting the fuck out of here. Like that's what I'm doing in my life.
Okay, that's it. But that makes sense. That makes sense. Look, you represent... when I think of you, you inspire me in so many different ways. It's crazy. But
before you switch topics, in case you're doing that, I'm no longer in that state of mind though.
Okay.
So we do have a new executive director, and I am
Mr. Tony Lima. Here's his picture.
Tony Lima. I am right on board with his vision, his mission, his messages. So I actually went to Washington D.C. with Tony Lima. Well, okay. To be honest, he came with me. I got an all expense paid trip to Washington, D.C. And I'm like, can I bring somebody? I thought we were there to lobby. I'm like, well, who better than Tony Lima? That was his job. He was executive director of SAVE. Yeah. He's a lobbyist. So then they're like, yeah, you can bring Tony, but you are not allowed to lobby. You are not allowed to talk about laws. You are not allowed to say, and I'm like, what are we doing?
What was the point?
We had to talk about our personal testimonies and how living in Florida has affected us as an LGBTQ person.
Wow.
So now we're in Washington, D.C., and Tony Lima is like, Misty, I don't have a testimony. And I'm like, Tony, all human beings have a testimony. Mm-hmm. And he's like, no, Tony, or Misty, I have lived a life of privilege. I have cis passing privilege. I have white passing privilege. I have straight passing privilege. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, if I want it, because he's very gay. But he could pass as straight if he wanted.
Yeah, if he didn't open his mouth.
And he's like, how do I talk to Congress and senators about my testimony when I don't have a testimony? I said, sweetheart, first of all, never, whoever you are, never apologize for privilege. As long as you use that privilege for the sake of marginalized communities around you.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
First of all. Second of all, you're the executive director of a nonprofit organization that center keystone is mental health. And we have senior daycare facilities, and we have youth services, and we have transgender services, and housing opportunity for people with HIV, and we have all kinds of these other services. Your clients, my clients, are your testimony. Mm. And that gave him the venue to talk about Black and brown marginalized youth, etc. So what are we talking about?
So you don't know what you're
going
to
do. I'm like, why are we talking
something big with a 6-figure salary. I don't know. You're saving the world or something. You're Wonder Woman. I don't know.
So the real talk, I have zero plans to leave SunServe going forward. Now that Tony's on, I did not drop out of school. Let's put it that way. I'm still in the MBA program. And because, when you're a transgender woman fighting for heteronormative status in a cisnormative world, you have to prove yourself. Guess what? I am
every day.
All this.
Yep.
So I am not only qualified for the job, but I'm overqualified for the job. And you should hire me because I have my MBA and whatever. So I'm still in that. I have no plans on leaving SunServe. Now, that being said, in 10 years, if somebody came to me with a salary and made an offer I couldn't refuse, I might not be able to refuse.
In 10 years, we put Tony in some kind of political position, and then Miss Misty Eyez takes Tony's spot, and we're all good.
That could work.
That could work.
Also, if you become in a very big political position and you need an assistant, I could come with you too.
We're going with you, Lima.
You can afford me, yeah.
Make that money. Okay, so I have to ask this question and then I have to finish the interview because this is the longest interview ever. I could sit with you for freaking 5 hours talking stuff. No.
And we haven't talked about the parade. We haven't talked about Stonewall. We haven't talked about nothing.
Listen, the trans community, okay? Near and dear to my heart, my closest friend is a woman living the trans experience, and she means everything to me. And I've learned through her journey. We are on it. We're only 2 years in, so we're baby, but we're good, But all this trans hate this year has hit me even more because it's someone I love, right?
You're seeing through her lens.
Because oh my God, and I'm seeing it horribly. I mean, for anyone out there that if you don't understand the trans community, love someone in the trans community and you will totally just change your attitude about these horrible bills. What the hell can we be doing to help the trans community? How can someone like me help the trans community? How can anyone watching in Middle America help the trans community?
So there is no cookie cutter answer for this question either. And every person is situational and different. So when you're dealing with a trans person, especially in their youth, let them know there's nothing to be ashamed of for being born with a brain that doesn't match your assigned sex at birth. That is not your fault. You have the choice to try and pass as cisgender or be a boy or be a girl like the doctor or your mom told you are, or you can have the courage to live authentically and whatever that looks like. In youth situations, if a trans person comes out at school or even as an adult and says, hey everyone, my name's Misty, my pronouns are she, her, hers, and someone over there misgenders you, as an ally, allies to me are verbs, not nouns. You can't sit there and be like, oh, they're saying a trans joke or a gay joke or a black joke. I'm not going to laugh because I'm an ally. You have to stop that. Hey, what you're doing is wrong. Shut up. God, come on. That's inappropriate.
Educate yourself. That's it. That's
Come
being
on.
an idiot.
Interruptive behavior is allyship. So when somebody misgenders your friend and you sit there and say nothing, you're not being a friend. Correcting them and, hey, stop. Come on.
That's being a friend.
That's being an ally. Educating people around you. I'm not saying you have to go around and tell everyone about your friend, but when they do idiotic and stupid comments, be like, dude, you're not even funny. Like, that's disrespectful. Ship up.
Got it. I love that. Those are words to live by. Miss Misty Eyez, make sure you follow her on social media, on all the social media platforms, so you can see all the fun stuff that she does. And
I agreed to come on this show at 9 o'clock in the morning so we can talk about the pageant tomorrow and Pride.
well, I was about to talk about Pride. Right
Oh,
now.
I thought you were saying follow her, we're leaving goodbye.
No.
Okay, yeah, follow me.
Okay, so tomorrow is Mr. and Miss Stonewall Pride, and it's going to be at where?
Oh my God, I almost said the old name. I almost said Bill's Filling Station. It's the Bill's Filling Station.
Is it at the Eagle? No.
It's at the Eagle.
Yeah, I
it
was
used to
right.
be called
Okay.
the Bill's Filling Station. It's at the Eagle tomorrow, yes.
Okay, so you've been putting on that pageant for how long?
This is our 18th Mr. and Miss Stonewall.
Has it gotten harder?
To do a
have
pageant?
have the people like come like just more ready to win?
Oh, I'm like, it doesn't get harder to put on a pageant. Yes, I definitely think that the girls have brought it, and the boys too. There's the misters, they turn it too. In the very beginning, it was more about being a community pageant for and of the people. And the evening wear category, for example, was in the beginning was just like you could wear evening wear for a club or evening wear for formal. Now it's very formal. I think the bylines are still in there where you could wear a club if you wanted, but the evening wear was very loose lines of evening wear. And it has definitely morphed into more of a like preliminary to Miss Florida pageant.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Last year was the first year it became an official prelim to Miss Florida.
So I gotta say
And Miss Florida.
congratulations on the fact that now this year for Stonewall Pride, you are also one of the Grand Marshals.
Yes, I am one of the Grand Marshals. I can
Woo-hoo!
officially say it now.
Congratulations.
I will be the, what is it called when you're
pace
car.
We thought it was called the pacemaker.
No,
It's not. It's
I
called
don't know.
the pace car. We don't do race.
It's NASCAR. The
don't
first
NASCAR.
car is the pace car. I'm going to be the Grand Marshal pace car for the Pride
what are you
Parade
gonna
on
wear?
Saturday. You know what? I don't know.
gonna be
This is a good
fabulous.
question. I don't know. Maybe you should leave a comment because as a world famous entertainer or drag queen, I kind of want to go in drag. But as a transgender educator and a trans woman, I kind of don't
Wanna
want
go
to
as
go in
you.
drag. So
That's hard.
maybe I'm going to blur the lines and be like wigged trans woman.
Okay, that'll work.
Maybe I'm wearing eyelashes for you today,
I
girl.
love the
'cause I'm
eyelashes.
like, yeah, but
I know, because it's
you gotta-
freaking early in the damn morning.
But I feel like my eyelashes get me clocked if I wear them in the daytime.
No, but
I don't know.
No, you look good in them.
Thank you.
We weren't able to have Stonewall Parade last year because of the unfortunate incident that happened,
Yeah.
and you saw that.
I
Like,
saw
in
it
person.
live. So
You
what?
can Google if you don't know, but here's the synopsis of it.
Yeah, so the synopsis. I was on a car less than 500 feet away from the accident. Like, I would even say maybe 120 feet. So there was a truck in Wilton Drive. And now the way Wilton Drive is set up, we all line up at the high school and then we go into Wilton Manors. And the only way into Wilton Manors is a bridge.
The Rainbow Bridge.
It's now a rainbow bridge, yeah.
Yeah.
So crossing that bridge. So there was a chorus member's truck. Trucks were lined up. Everybody was lined up.
We were on stage ready to start commentating on the floats coming
Yes.
by. Yeah.
And one of the cops went up to the truck and said, "Hey, got to move your truck." And this elderly person, nervous, jumped in this truck and slammed on the gas instead of the brake. And it killed two people and crashed the truck into a business. And when somebody dies, they have to close the road down because it becomes a crime scene.
Yeah.
So Wilton Drive was completely closed. It's now a crime scene, and there's no way to reroute the parade because now there's dead people, and you have to, for their justice and whatever, it becomes a crime scene.
Oh God,
And,
but it was so sad. And
it was
because we are so beat down in the LGBTQ plus community,
the fear of stigma,
we
yeah.
automatically thought that we were being attacked, that it was a terror threat, that Wynwood Pride was happening 20 plus miles away. They took everybody off stage because we were fearful.
Yeah.
We were scared, and it's
Well, I
unfortunate.
wasn't scared. I saw it.
Well, you saw it.
But-
you could have texted me and told me because I'm
Well, I
like 8
didn't
blocks
know.
away freaking out thinking that we're under attack. I'm like freaking out.
Well, they kept telling us not to go anywhere. They're like, the parade is still happening. It's just been delayed. It's just been delayed. And then finally, one of the fire marshals came up to me and he's like, y'all can just leave.
Yeah, no, listen,
There's
out of
no
respect,
way.
you can't have that parade. So with people losing their lives that day. But the people, the grand marshals that were from last year, they're coming over this year as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's me and Steve McLaughlin, a meteorologist from South
yeah,
Florida.
yeah, yeah.
We are the grand marshals of the parade this year. Last year's grand marshals will be in the car behind us.
Fantastic. And Mr. and Mrs. And Miss Stonewall, how
Yep.
about are last
Last
year's going to be
year's.
able to come out again?
Yep, Shasta McNasty and Javier Rivera won
her.
last year,
I love
and they will
Shasta.
be in the parade behind Mr. and Miss Stonewall this year.
I love her representation. She is so open about just mental health and whatever's going on in her life.
Abuse.
So,
Substance abuse.
So Shasta, she's in recovery just like I am. So love her. Awesome. Misty, I love you. Thank you for being in bed with me, Mama.
You know,
I've
I'm a
always
gold
wanted to
star
have-
straight woman. I've never had a lesbian experience.
Really? Do you want to change that? We can
No.
do that now. Come on.
By the way, my husband would love it.
Just a little bit.
Okay, I sort of tried it in college-ish, but nothing from here down. It was just, a little.
Well, I can't
kike.
promise you that I won't touch from there down. So. I love you, sis. Thank you so much for being on my show. Thank
Yeah,
you, thank
of
you, thank you.
course.
Misty Eyez, make sure that you follow her on all social media platforms. She's just an incredible human being. I love her. The FayWhat show loves her, and she'll probably be on the show again in the future. Make sure you catch her at Stonewall as well, and at Mr. and Miss Stonewall tomorrow at the Eagle.
Yes, and the Museum of Discovery and Science, please come out and show your support. Drag Queen Storytime. I think we're going to do Drag Queen Storytime at 12 and 1 or 11 and 2 or something like that.
Yeah, only, unless Ron DeSantis comes and
Oh,
crashes
girl.
it or something like that. Whatever. Bye, Misty Eyez. Love you, baby. So, did you enjoy the show? I know you did. So make sure to click subscribe so you won't miss any of the events, news, or interviews right here on the FayWhat show. Ring the bell at the bottom of the screen, right there, so you'll be alerted every time we're live. You can also click on the Happening Out Television Network logo so you can see all of the shows on the most diverse LGBTQ plus media network. Find out just what we're doing to bring the L and the G together right here on the